This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Duham and Mr. Flynn, for appearing this morning. When did the RCMP open its investigation concerning Beijing's intimidation campaign targeting MP Chong?
With regards to the MP Chong, we found out about it through the committee here and through the media.
So it's in the last few weeks.
Yep. And as when we were made aware of it, we approached Mr. Chong and began the investigation.
Thank you for that. You also indicated that the RCMP has passed on information to the Commissioner of Elections Canada. Does that pertain to the intimidation campaign targeting MP Chong?
That would include intimidation, not necessarily intimidation, but it would include other elected officials that have come to the surface with regards to possible meddling from the PRC.
And so those are other members of Parliament?
I would use Mr. O'Toole as an example, and Mark, if you have anything.
I'd be happy to take that answer, Chair, if that's okay. The RCMP is aware of the public visibility into different accusations of interference in democratic processes, including Mr. Chung, as well as other members of Parliament that you've heard about that have spoken either in Parliament or in various committees about meddling in elections, misinformation, or interference in voter influencing that's going on. So what the RCMP has done, because there's a primary responsibility for some of those offences with the Commissioner of Canada Elections, the RCMP through an MOU has an agreement to provide any assistance that is required to the Commissioner of Canada Elections in their investigation of those incidents, and has reached out to offer any and all assistance with respect to what we have recently learned about has been occurring with respect to specific individuals.
So just to clarify on that, some of the things that the RCMP has learned is the spreading of disinformation or misinformation by foreign state actors such as the Beijing regime in the democratic and context of elections.
So we have learned about specific individuals that were targeted through the public disclosure, not through other means, but through the public disclosure of specific individuals that have been targeted. And it is those matters that we reached out to the Commissioner of Canada Elections to offer our assistance if required.
How many individuals have been targeted?
As of this point, I believe there are two, in addition to Michael Chung.
You cited Mr. O'Toole as the other Ms. Kwan? Okay, thank you for that. And has the RCMP opened any other investigations pertaining to the targeting of MP Kwan or MP O'Toole or any other member of Parliament?
We have not.
Okay, for that. Is there anything you wish to add to update the committee on in regards to the situation concerning MP Chong or MPs O'Toole or Kwan?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Then switching gears a little bit, on June 1st, CBC reported that, quote, the RCMP says it has shut down illegal police activity in Ontario, Quebec, and British Columbia connected to so-called Chinese police stations, end of quote. So have all of Beijing's illegal police stations that the RCMP is aware of operating in Canada been shut down?
So I would say to that, Madam Chair, based on the work that's done, the overt action that the RCMP has taken on the multiple sites, we are comfortable based on the criminal intelligence that we have that the activities in the specific areas have shut down. I put a caveat, shut down, the policing activities have shut down, but be mindful that the buildings or the buildings that we're using sometimes are community halls which are meant for other means, but we're confident with the intelligence that we have that the policing activity that was being done there has been shut down. And investigations are continuing.
And when have those illegal police activities been shut down? Can you provide a timeline?
An exact timeline, Mark? Do you?
We'd have to come back with that exact timeline, but you would have seen very public visibility of our police officers in uniform at those locations, and that was the disrupting action that caused them to shut down their activities.
Thank you for that. When the Prime Minister's National Security Advisor, Jody Thomas, last appeared before this committee on June the 1st, she said that she is aware of at least 2 illegal police stations in Montreal that she said, quote, work is being done to ensure that they cease to operate. And so by that, she said they are still operating. So can you perhaps explain or help me understand what you have just said, that all illegal police activities have been shut down, versus what she said, that efforts are being taken in the case of 2 police stations to see that they cease to operate, presumably those illegal activities?
So, Madam Chair, again, as I mentioned earlier, based on the criminal intelligence that we have and the work that's been going on, we are comfortable to say that the activities going on in these locations have been shut down. At the moment that the NSA was here, I'm not quite sure what stage we were at, but I'm comfortable to say at this point in time that they are shut down. Investigations are continuing in these overseas police stations.
Mr. Flynn, you stated earlier that you were aware that of the threat generally as it pertained to Beijing, but not as it pertains specifically to MP Chong. So can you elaborate upon that? Were you aware generally that Beijing and Beijing diplomats were targeting MPs, even though you weren't specifically aware that it was MP Chong until recently?
I was not aware of specific targeting in the manner that MP Chung was targeted. Certainly aware of that being a general threat to diaspora in Canada.
What being a general threat?
Threats and intimidation of family members from afar.
The Jody Thomas confirmed that the July 2021 CSIS memo indicating that MPs were being targeted by a Beijing diplomat at Beijing's Toronto consulate sent to the three deputy ministers as well as the PCO, including the Prime Minister's National Security and Intelligence Advisor. Was that memo passed on to the RCMP?
Don't know. I don't recall.
Madam Chair, I don't recall seeing it. I truly don't recall.
You don't recall?
All reading anything to that effect with regards to the interference. It doesn't mean it wasn't discussed during meetings at a lower level, but I don't recall seeing that.
So you don't know whether it was passed on to the RCMP?
I'm saying it might have been passed on to the program that I'm not aware of, as I was in the former chair of MARC, but I don't recall seeing anything.
Well, can you Mr. Flynn, if you have something to add on that?
I would just say, in order to speak authoritatively to this, we'd have to see the memo and come back to you and let you know whether or not we had seen it.
Well, could you undertake to come back based upon what has been reported of that memo, whether it had been passed on to the RCMP at any point? Is that a fair undertaking?
We can undertake it. I will caution, though, that if that memo has not been transitioned to us, I'm comparing with the public discourse on it, but we can work with our partners to come back.
Okay. If you could do that as best you can, that would be appreciated. Both of you had indicated that there are ongoing investigations as it pertains to illegal police stations, but no arrests have been made. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. How many sites have illegal police activity has the RCMP taken action in respect of?
Mark, the exact.
It's approximately 7. So I would say 7, possibly 8. And you'll have to understand there's intermingling elements to things. So.
Okay. In the June 1st CBC report that I cited in my previous questions, there were 2 sites that have been identified as illegal police stations in Montreal, one situated in downtown Montreal, the other situated in Brossard. And the organizations connected to those police stations or alleged police stations indicated that no police action has been taken in respect of those sites. Is that correct?
I can assure Madam Chair that we are investigating the sites in Montreal.
And those are in downtown Montreal. Sorry.
The sites that you just mentioned, correct.
Thank you.